the captain for this 1 hour up to the hour of 2. And I'm not alone in the studio. Beautiful ladies, beautiful women in the studio. I have Barrister Oluwatoyin Falaye, and she is the founder of Jewels Hive Initiative. Welcome, Ms. Toyin.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Also, we have why do I keep Yella? Her name is so long, and Yella was with us early this morning, and we were talking about malaria and all that stuff. But yes, it's a woman thing, so we need as many women as possible in the studio to join our voice together and speak against this vibe. So welcome, Yella, to yet another segment of the show.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Today we will be talking about rape. Now, you know this thing is, most times when you start to talk about it, people dismiss it. And some people will say, why didn't you, are you sure it's rape? Are you sure they raped you? Are you sure it's not consensual? Are you sure who took you there? Why did you dress like that? What were you putting on when that person made such advances at you? Most of these girls, they know they will rape them. See comments like this. I, for one, find it very disgusting because at some point, I think most girls have gone through experiences like this and are so afraid to talk about it, so ashamed to even say, I have been attempted, someone has attempted to assault me and all that, regardless of the relationship you have with the people. So yes, guys, welcome to the Midday Extra Show, and of course, we are talking about rape. Mrs. Toyin Falaye is the founder of Jewels Hive Initiative, and Jewels Hive Initiative deal with cases around rape across the country. So let's hear you, Ms. Toyin.
Thank you so much, Martha. It's such a privilege to be here again to talk about one topic that will not, cease anytime soon, because every day we're having conversations around this topic, and then the social media, helps to amplify these cases. I remember, taking it from what you just mentioned, there was a case recently of a girl accusing a boy of raping her, and the boy coming out to say it was a lie, and the girl coming up to make an open apology. And then we found out that by the time they released the chat, the guy had actually told her to come to his house because he wanted to sleep with her. And then threatened her that he was going to put out something else to make it look like, except if she put out an apology. And then she put out the apology, and then it happened to turn out against her, because rapists also, manipulate their victims.
Very manipulative.
And so, just like you rightly said, we have at least 4 out of 5 people who have been victims of sexual abuse, sexual molestation, or even the actual rape. And it is on the rise, despite the fact that we have a lot of interventions going on both from the local and international communities. Rape has become and I think it's because for a long time, the culture of silence did not allow a lot of people to speak up. But when you enter into a room, I think there was also another video that trended recently where it was even outside, it was a foreign video, and the lady said, if you're in this room and you've never been abused, sit down. If you've been once abused, get up. And
everybody,
90%,
yes,
if not everybody, got up, because at one point or the other, especially from the age of 3 going to 5, when you can actually recollect whatever happens to you, you realize that there must have been a point in time where somebody touched you inappropriately, or made advances at you that were inappropriate. And so the word rape, I think, is because people think, of course, thank God for the Violence Against Persons Act, which is the VAP Act, that has now spelled out the various kinds of rape that can occur. Before, in our other kind of laws, like the criminal code, rape had to be, there has to be penetration with an object or with a penis and all of that. But now we have what you call harassment, we have molestation, we have, non-consensual touches. And so people now understand what it is to molest somebody once you touch them without their consent. And we're having conversations like this because this has to stop.
Completely.
Even though when we don't know where it will stop. Because for me, who is on the field, sometimes I wrote something last week. I said, sometimes when you think you're winging it, when you think, oh, we're not getting so much people coming to report anymore, you see, like, this thing is the next thing you get 2-3 calls in a day. And you're like,
yes, today we were talking about malaria, parasites, and all of that. And she was saying, they tend to adapt, they tend to form a resistance. When you give them some drugs, they no longer, this is with rapists, the same thing with rapists.
Yes.
When they find out that, this method, we're now getting caught, they move somewhere else. Yes. And sometimes they deal with their victims psychologically.
Yes.
So you will start thinking, am I actually the reason I was raped?
I have a
Or
very
is it the person's fault or my fault that I was raped? And that is not
talking
right.
about that. I have a very sad story which we've not even started treating. This lady, a grown up lady, she's in her 30s. She went to school with this man who is in the force. Let me not say which type of the force because we're still treating that case. And then, so this is somebody she's trusted. They've been to school together. And then he came to Abuja and told her to come and visit him at his hotel. He owns the hotel, by the way, not like him. And she went, like a friend, and they were having a talk. Meanwhile, she's diabetic, something like that. So she's not very strong. And before she could say, Jack, this man raped her. And he raped her, and the first thing is shock. You're still wondering, did this actually
somebody
happen?
that
Did this person do this to me? And then he sends all kind of, I'm sorry, apologies and everything. And then she's still trying to process the whole thing. A year passed, 2 years passes. She's finding a way to forgive him. This person has been asking for forgiveness consistently. And then after a period of like 2 years, he says, okay, if you truly want to show me that you are forgiving me, can we see? And she trying to also process her pain and don't forget this is not a child that goes again to see him a second time and he does the exact same thing again.
Oh my Lord.
And so this woman is so traumatized now, and she discovered that he has done the same thing to her younger sister.
Oh no.
So you see that this, and like in her words, it's like, and so we're trying to take up that matter, which will definitely will. Thank God he's in a position where he cannot easily run away, because I know what those people will do with him. But you see how these people behave. So it's so that we don't think it's just when it even happens to a child. This was an adult. She felt this man was reasonable. She felt he was, and he took advantage of her, her weakness, her frail state of health and everything. So sometimes these rapists go, and if it is not those of us who are enlightened like we are, people will say, oh, so why did you go? You went the first time. Then you went the second time. Then, I'm sure you liked it. And they begin to victim shame the person who is supposed to be empathized with. Of course. So there's just a lot going on. Let's not even go to the cases that men rape their wives and the law does
that we had this conversation last week Friday.
That is on consent.
We had this conversation here, and surprisingly people called in and said, when you were signing up for marriage, what did you think was going to happen? That sex is going to be a constant thing once you get married. And the issue here was not even about rape. The first thing we were talking about was how we have already agreed that we are going to have just 2 children, and then now you say you want more. In the midst of that conversation, sex should not come up between you and that person, because anything will seem like force.
Yes.
At that point.
Yes.
You now go ahead, you made love to your wife, and then the wife is coming and saying that the fact that she had mixed feelings about that thing at that time, that means you were wrong. But like she said, the law is still trying to navigate between accepting that a husband can rape a wife or whatever the case is. Now, we don't want to sound gender biased when we're talking about rape, because we always try to talk about the woman, because we are most vulnerable to occurrences like this. There are men that also suffer rape.
Oh yes.
And yesterday I was scrolling through my phone and I saw that, this person lures them to another country, I think Ghana, and these boys are made to do this Yahoo game or whatever it is. So when they don't get enough people to scam, he takes them for hookup.
Wow.
These boys. Now, he sends them out for hookup as well. You find them in the video, they were twerking. He was flogging them,
Oh my God.
You understand? So let's hear from have you done any case regarding the male perspective of rape?
We have had a report, but I won't say a case, because we still also grapple with male victims not coming out to report.
At all.
They never do.
They do not. And I do not blame them. I think, in as much as we do not identify that there is gender bias, there is actually gender bias. It's always very difficult. But, I had gone to a speaking engagement where a guy came out to speak about how his uncle had started molesting him since he was 12 and, used to sodomize him and do all sorts with him. And you could even see physically that this guy was no longer mentally okay. He had become so, in fact, so messed up in his mind, even in his body. You could see that he didn't grow up, looking as healthy as he should, because he had been molested. But I'm sure he didn't get where to report, or he reported he was not believed. And this thing thrives more in the north. and he was living in the north. So so there are cases of male boys being raped, but the reportage is very low, and that's why we always encourage everybody who is a victim of abuse, whether male or female, to please speak out, so that we can begin to also create more awareness in these areas of, gender issues.
Okay, now talking about speaking out, this is one of the most difficult aspects of this entire conversation, because there are times when, is it your uncle that is, how do you want to explain to your mother that your uncle taught you? How do you want to tell your father that somebody is touching you inappropriately? I had a conversation with somebody one time, and she's saying, I don't have any graphic representation. I don't have any remembrance of somebody actually raping me, but my body knows how I respond to things. I know that I was abused. Do you think this is a valid statement? Do you think it's a valid statement that you can't remember for sure saying this particular person raped me or this particular person abused me?
It's called selective amnesia. So because of the trauma that was caused to the person picks to forget it as a means of coping with the trauma. But the body always remembers. You always remember that this person hurts me, but I don't know what the person did. But your body always tells you this happened, but you don't know how, because you pick to forget it. It's a way the brain copes with trauma. When a lot of trauma has been done, the brain just completely forgets, can forget the face, the name of the person, everything, but then your
body knows
that this happened to you.
And
It's
actually,
selective amnesia.
it happened to me, right?
Yes,
So
her
I
story
was-
is one that I followed.
So I was raped at 10 by a neighbor, and I think for the longest time up until 2018, I can't remembering that incident. But 2 years after that, when my aunt's husband began to molest me and he raped me for 7 years,
Oh my God.
the coping mechanism I developed at some point was to forget everything that happened. But of course, I hated this person. We didn't like each other. But throughout my secondary school and early university, you couldn't sit me down and ask me what happened and I would remember anything. Fast forward to 2018. I don't know what, okay, I think it was, like she said, trauma. The trauma had so sat, I had developed a coping mechanism of don't ever remember what happened. You're a girl, you're a happy child, whatever happened to you. And so compartmentalize, my memories into all that. So I did that, but my body knew, my mind knew. And so the trauma had hit so deep until first suicidal attempt, second suicidal attempt, third suicidal attempt, fourth suicidal attempt. It was after my fourth suicidal attempt that all of the emotions, of the memories came flushing back, and I could remember everything, even in pictures, how it all happened. And so that was when I could speak, because then now I was an adult. The conversations were going on around rape, and then I went on television, I had an interview, and I shared my story, and I remembered everything, and it affected me a lot. So I think that happens to, she called it selective amnesia. I think it happens to every victim of abuse. At some point, you just want to shut down that part of your life, that part of your memory, and you don't want to remember. And that is why therapy is always highly recommended, because sometime in the future, it catches up. The emotions will just keep flooding back, because you may be married, for instance, and then your husband wants to touch you, and then there's just this way that you react because of that fear that you built up. And even you may be shocked at your own reaction, like, why did I do that? So and that is why, like one of the cases that happened recently, which was the Busola Dakolos case, she had shut it down, and then she came out to share her story. And like I said, what happened was this lady was just coming to share because she wanted to heal.
Yes.
But because of the many voices, so there was, go to court, and which she eventually did. But sometimes when people remember these things, the first thing is they want to heal. And so in healing, they want to share. In sharing, they want to break the silence that they have created for themselves. I kept silence for 23 years before I could remember and then articulate and then voice out what I went through. And he was another round of traumatic experiences that I don't even want to remember.
Because family members will come and say, why didn't you speak up? Or
why did you even speak up?
Or why didn't you? In fact, an aunt called me and said, so you want to ruin this man's life by heaping lies on him. And then another person now told her, don't say that because I remember when it happened, and she's saying the truth. So it's always, and you like you said, there's no, it's not
your
like I have
word
pictures,
against
it's my
theirs.
word against
Yes,
I don't have the
yes.
picture of when he was raping me. I just have the memories which never go away, by the way.
Brings me to my next question. Do you think rapists can repent? Because there are instances where, somehow, I say this thing all the time. When I see somebody, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But somehow in my mind, I be like, this person can be an abuser. It happens to me all the time. When I see people, I can easily say that maybe I'm just judging the person, I don't know. But it happens. And anytime I say that, and I still forge ahead with hanging out with that person, I have more than 1-2 proofs that that person actually is a rapist. Do you think they really repent? Or they I don't know how to explain it.
To start with, abused people abuse others. Most rapists are also victims of abuse themselves. It's either they're coming from a toxic home, a toxic environment. They watch their father beat their mother. They watch, that that man by the roadside touch that young girl, and they began to form, their ideologies around it.
Subconscious mindset.
Yes, subconscious mindset. And so they grow up with it, and they do not see it as wrong. So it's always difficult for them to even repent, because for some of the survivors that I have had to interact with, most of them know they are rapists, and these people act like nothing ever happened. They're even feeling entitled. How come you're not calling me? Remember, they're mostly family members, uncles, cousins, relatives. You're now a big girl, and you no longer call me.
So you're acting as if nothing
so they're
happened.
acting like nothing happened, and you, the victim, are like, is it that you cannot remember what you did to me 10, 5, 15 years ago?
They want to come into your space.
They want to come to your space and just act like nothing happened. A lady called me up from the US recently. She saw me on LinkedIn, connected with me, and said, this uncle who touched her when she was 6, she remembers very, very well. And she's grown up with it. She's an adult now, but it still affected her until she opened up to her brother. So the brother said, no, we must go and meet him and confront him. And then they went to meet the uncle, and they confront. He blatantly denied it.
Of course,
because I'm sure in his wildest dreams, he didn't believe that the girl could remember what happened to her when she was 6. But I mean, somebody who was, there's nothing she's lying about. She's not using it as a vendetta. So it's her story.
You don't have money that she wants to take.
Collect.
Because that's what it always boils down to.
And then most rapists are narcissistic in nature. We understand that narcissism is a medical condition that has no cure, in quotes. Now, these are not even regularly diagnosed. Narcissists don't even accept it, because these are people who don't believe that they can ever do wrong.
Yes,
they don't always right. They're always right.
Yes.
You are the one who is at fault. So if you look at the characteristics and the traits of the people who are rapists, the traits that they carry, it will be very difficult for them to apologize, except for somebody who did it out of ignorance once and realized, oh, what did I just do? And then apologizes. But again, leave that person in the room with even a 2-year-old.
It will still happen.
The exact same thing again.
So they can't repent.
Well, let's just say maybe 1 out of 10 can.
Now,
them benefit of doubt.
Yes. So now, you see the people that, rape is like grief. When someone is grieving, it's very hard for that person, for you to take that person out of that situation he or she is. It's a conscious effort. I need to let this. Because I remember at the time when I lost my mom, it took me long. I'm even still going through it.
Definitely.
It comes and
I'm still, there are days when I say, in fact, in church yesterday, I saw someone, I say, my mom has a dress like this, and it really looks good on the woman and all that. It takes you, every day takes you back to that occurrence, right? So how do you think someone that has been raped can heal? For grief, I know that the chances of healing is maybe 3/10. You can only learn to live with it, but you cannot, completely heal from it. What about rape? Do you think somebody can heal from rape? I've taken you.
Okay, I was thinking she would answer first because I'm getting.
Okay, so do you think? Okay, let's.
First.
Sorry.
Okay, so personally, I think it does a lot of harm to the mental health for rape and grief as well. As you used grief to explain, I would say that most times I say a lot of Nigerians are injured and we don't know. So I believe that therapy would help.
Okay.
The person would not completely heal. I don't think anybody ever completely heals from anything. We just learn to live with it, and then it becomes a part of us and a lesson for us that we learn and then work with. So I think therapy is something that I would recommend for anybody, because I think talking about stuff like that helps the weight of it. It reduces. And then it makes you feel a form of kinship, especially when they find someone like them and stuff. And then you talk to a therapist and, medically speaking, and then they talk to the person, somebody that understands the psychology of humans, and they make them understand it's not their fault. And it's okay that it was not their fault it happened, and it's okay to feel better, it's okay to be better and all. I think therapy helps, even though the scar would remain, but at least the wound will not be open again. That's what I think.
All right.
Okay, so there's my book is coming out soon, my memoir, and that's Diamond in the Rough, where I talked about grief, loss, and all kinds of pain. And I'm just remembering now that I don't think there was anywhere in that book that I talked about complete healing. I gave tips on how to deal with, how to cope, like seeking therapy, forgiving the people that hurt you, forgiving yourself, and all of those. But you see, healing is a continuous journey. Like she says, it leaves a scar.
Completely.
Now, what happens is that the scar may be covered, but the invisible mark, that mark is still there. And so people do not actually heal, because for me, I think for now, I'm coping well. When I just came out with my story, at every television and radio interview, I would break down. Like, they would have to pause production, allow me to cry for some minutes, then we continue.
I approached you one time about this grief thing, starting a podcast. I have started a couple of times. I don't see myself moving past that point.
Yes. The book I'm releasing soon, I started writing it 5 years ago, and at every chapter I would cry my eyes out completely. So I dumped the book for a number of years before I picked it, and to the glory of God, we'll be launching it very soon. So that is but that is part of the healing journey, right? So it's continuous. You really cannot have, especially where the person who abused you has not come out, so you don't have closure. You've lost a parent. Good for you if you were able to bury them. I have a friend who lost the mom to a plane crash. They could not find her body. So till date, there is no closure. So for people who have been raped, there is no closure, because these rapists do not come to say, I am sorry. And because there's that opening, that healing will not be total. But what I help people do, which I do because I'm a healing coach, is to help people find the purpose in that pain. Why did you have to go through it? I'm sure there's somebody somewhere that God also wants you to help to come out of that grief, of that pain. So that's just where you take some strength, take some power, and begin to find healing. But you see, total healing, except by the grace of God, in your 80s, in your 90s, you will still remember. So in my case, for instance, like I said, during when I was coping with the pain, my abuser was still present on my wedding day. My introduction is all over the pictures. I don't know how I coped with that, right? Maybe because I still kept it in one compartment in my brain. But as we speak, I cannot open my wedding album because I don't want to see this person's face. Any picture that I have, I don't know how I did it, but I've kind of cut off his face because it brings memories I don't want to. So you realize that, yes, I have forgiven this person, I have let go, I'm on my healing journey, but I do not want to have any interaction or any to even be in any space with that person. So it means that healing may not be complete, but I am whole now because I also use that pain to help other people to find their own strength, find their own healing. People find it easy to talk to me, and I'm like, okay, see a therapist, or let's take you through it, walk you through a talk therapy, or recommend books for you to read, or just, okay, I'm here, just vent on me, just talk to me. Let's cry. In fact, I cry with people. Let's cry together. It's therapeutic and all. So healing is a lifetime journey. As you grow, as you mature in age, in wisdom, in finding purpose in that pain, that is where the healing comes from. But you don't totally get over the situation. That's the truth.
This Japanese proverb that says, when their plates break, I think, when their plates break, this Japanese proverb where they seal it with gold. That's how I see it. I write, and I always tell myself that my scars are sealed with gold and they make me more beautiful.
Exactly.
That's
who
what
you
I
are.
believe. So the scars are there, but they are sealed with gold. And you said something about finding purpose in your pain. That I think that really helps.
Of
Because,
course.
yes,
Of
helping
course.
someone else when you
It's
feel
like,
there.
do you get?
Yes, it's just
Yes,
it uplifts
completely.
you
Yeah.
out of that place. Though it always comes back at a point. Everything just
It
rushes
will.
in.
It will.
But that
It will. Honestly, and finding that purpose, I realized that there are things I would have never done with my life if I still had my mother. That's when I tell people that thing, they say, so did you want your mother to die?
No.
But there are certain things I will never do.
I would never.
I ask myself that all the time. I'm like, if your mom was still alive and
Would
you
you?
were with her in the house, do
There
you
are
think you
certain
would have
things
been where you are?
I don't think I will even be wise.
Because you'll be shielded. You'll be so shielded. There are certain experiences you don't have.
For one, I don't see the need to wake up and pray at night. When I
mommy
can
is always
see
interceding.
when I can see somebody visibly worrying on my behalf, I can even hear my name in that. There's no
the
need for me
prayer.
to do any of that. But loss, there's something that loss or this kinds of pain do for you. It shapes you to become somebody.
Yeah.
But if you are not sensitive enough to pick the message in that thing, all your life will be centered around is that
It's the
of being raped, that pain of losing somebody, that pain of different people experience pain in different
different
forms.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say.
We
That it
cope
actually
with
is
it
not. It's not even. It's good to be sensitive, but I think there's also a journey to it. There's a path. There's a journey to overcome a particular kind of pain, especially the pain of loss, and then the pain of having your body being violated. There are still emotions that you will deal with. I mean, even in my adult life, as at 2-3 weeks ago, I still had anxiety attack and panic attack and some of those mental health illnesses that happened to me because I was a victim of rape. And these are, it's just like having, I mean, thank God for malaria, you can cure malaria, but high blood pressure and some of those, you just manage them.
Yes,
So,
you just
so
manage
you,
them.
you, because those things have become part of you. So, is as you grow, as you move on in life, you just realize that, okay, this thing happened 10 years, 5 years. Okay, like when my father passed, I used to hate my dad because I felt that my dad was the one who put me in a position to be abused because I went to live with a family member. So I hated my dad for years until he passed. Now, when my father passed, I started feeling guilty for not having that conversation with him, for hating him for no reason. I realized that, okay, it wasn't his fault. He had too many of us, and he had to give us out to some of his relatives. He trusted them with us. It wasn't like he deliberately gave us out. And then I dealt with that guilt again for another 5 years. Before I began to forgive myself, forgive my dad, and begin to say, okay, this is the power. This man didn't hate you. So it's a lot
Becoming
of emotion.
aware is even very powerful.
It's powerful. There's power in becoming aware, and then there's so much more power. Even if it is one person, you can impact
through that pain.
through your pain. It is also very powerful because that person will see you and say, oh, if Martha is now doing this thing because she lost her mom and she has found the purpose in it. If Yela is now writing and talking about these things, if Tony is now speaking, then it means that I can also do the same.
Of course.
It may take them a while. Somebody comes, there's somebody I'm mentoring constantly. She comes and say, I'm done, I'm tired. I said, no, it's in stages. When will I ever get to this point where I don't have to feel this way? I said, it's a time. The fact that you recognize the pain,
that's already,
and I think that's the first step. Recognizing the pain and knowing that you're not alone in this. There is support, you have some support system around you. I think that will help. But really, seeking therapy is also very powerful, even though sometimes, the therapist will only do what they can do professionally.
I think your will,
Your healing power, yes.
your will
That's what I was
first,
going to.
because you will spend. I remember, how much therapy? 45,000 for, I think, one this thing, and
One
you
session.
do 3 times a week.
Oh, yeah.
And
Therapy
they
is
tell you to do at
expensive.
least 3 times a month.
Yeah.
It's quite expensive.
It's me by myself that ran away. But you know what? You can hear. Don't worry. Just tell yourself you're okay, and you will be okay. It's quite expensive, so you don't want to waste that resources
And I
without.
don't blame them. We don't have many therapists.
We don't.
There are, not very many.
We
and
don't.
They also spend so much to get
That knowledge. Anyways, guys, these are the kind of podcasts we need out there. Not somebody coming to. We're tired of hearing man podcasts. I'm tired of it. If you open your internet everywhere, it's man.
I saw something on
What is
on
the
TV
problem,
yesterday, and
really?
I was very excited. Healing with Maria. I think it's starting very soon on one of those TV stations. And I
Yes.
think, having these conversations, there are people. Do you know that the reason why people are having some bad marriages is because they were either victims of rape or abuse in their childhood?
I was going to
And
get
they
to
carry that-
hold on. I was going to get to that
Oh.
conversation. Let's just play some songs,
Okay.
and then we get on with that conversation, and we can ask the people, how they have what they want to ask you. I mean, you're here. All right, guys, we're stepping out, playing one song. Don't go anywhere. This is Gwagwalada by Buju and Shay Vibes.
Play those songs. The good tunes just don't stop.
The good tunes just don't stop.
Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja.
All right, guys. Yes, normally what we do is we do the show off the mic before we do it on the mic. Because we talk off the mic, we'll not come back and say it on the mic. But yes, if you're just joining us, this is Eagles 102.3, your radio experience you can count on. It's a midday extra show with Martha. And of course, I have with myself here Barrister Oluwatoyin Falaye. She is the founder of Jaws High Initiative. And we have, I don't want to. We have pharmacist Yella here with us. It's been an amazing conversation right around rape. We have been talking about these things. But yes, Yella said something very important before we went on break. Triggers. Let's hear you, Yella.
So we're talking about, how you get married and then your triggers are so different. Two injured people come together and then they have their different triggers. And you never heal from most of these things. That's if you've not compartmentalized it. So you even know that you were injured about something, completely done selective amnesia, but then something keeps triggering you and you don't even know. And sometimes you don't talk to your spouse about it and it keeps causing issues in your relationship and your marriage, and the other person just does not understand. Why are you acting this way? You might not even know why you're acting
Of
that way.
course.
Because the triggers are there, but you don't even know. For the ones you know, have you been able to come to the place where you can share it with this person? And I believe it's something we should talk about. Triggers. What triggers some responses that we give when someone says something, when someone does something?
And
What's
you just
that
snap.
reaction?
Yeah.
You
Yes.
just snap.
What
Yeah.
makes you snap? What are those things?
I'm sure your reaction to that video I was telling you about, I'm sure your reaction to that video will be different. Because it's so disgusting. You see me turning.
I told my PA I didn't want to watch it because I just, when she mentioned what it was, I was already angry in my spirit. So I didn't want to watch it, but I had to. She was showing me, I was watching it, I was trying not to watch it because it's a trigger for me. It's a trigger for me. And I remember when I just got married, and anytime I was on talking, the next I found myself shouting. I was like, it's just the two of us in the room. We're having a conversation. I said, no, that's how I am. That's how I am. That's how I talk. But I realized that's not how I am. It is
The reflection of
it's a
something.
reflection, of something. I also had another incident where whenever my younger sister is alone with my husband, I just begin to fret. It was so bad that one day I had to scream at her that whenever I'm here, that's where she should be. That happened. I went to my room and I was asking myself, what did you just do? So there's just a lot of trigger because of past hurts, past, things that has happened to you and you've not done therapy, or even if you've done therapy, there's just this part of you that you've buried it in, like she said, and you just don't know how to handle it. And so that is why we're having increase in divorce these days. It's not really because two people cannot live with each other.
It's triggers.
It is
You don't
because
understand your
triggers.
you don't know what it is. Some people are coming from abusive marriages that they watch their father and mother fight all the days of their lives. They don't know how else to live their lives except what they were used to. And these are conversations that intending couples do not have. Oh, they talk about how many children they want to have. They talk about how they want to keep the money in a joint account or no joint account. They don't talk about their mental health, their emotional state. How
What are you dealing with?
Yes, what are your values? What are the things you're bringing? How were you treated? Even in previous relationships, some people went to abusive relationships. They were in relationships where their partners used to beat them, and they thought it was normal until they got into this other relationship. They found out that this person is better, but they did not address it. So there's just a lot of triggers, and people need to know that, like I said, 4 out of 5 ladies are victims of one form of abuse or the other. For the men, they don't even talk, so we don't even have a very correct statistics about that. But we know that many people have been abused one way or the other, and these things are just silent evils that is in them, and then they go ahead with their lives because they go to school, they graduate, they do also, they start making money, and then they bury that part of them, and then until they begin to live with one other human being, and everything comes
Just
out.
blows up.
We need to have conversations, like you said. I think we need to have more clear-cut conversations about issues like this, mental health, and like I was going to ask the pharmacist, people take antidepressants, which I'm not against, but I've also heard that even the antidepressants have effects.
Yes.
And can you say something
No,
about that?
that's
Because I
antidepressants.
know that some people who also use antidepressants behave in a certain way that the people think that they are not all right.
That's this particular conversation of antidepressants. I was having that conversation with someone yesterday. They gave somebody amitriptyline of 22 days. The person took it in 3 days,
Yes, because the people abuse it.
hoping to die, and the person did not now die. So, right, it's crazy. People abuse these things, right? And I know that doctors don't give it without prescription. So if you have heard the name and you want to run to pharmacy to buy it, I'm sorry, they will not give you without prescription. So yes, let's hear about this antidepressant. Do they really help?
They do, but the thing is now they tell these people to come back all the time. Okay, because these drugs, they have side effects. Every
Yeah.
drug has.
Yeah.
But for antidepressants, some of them, their side effects could be the person shaking, Parkinsonism, and all of that. So they tell you that when you're taking it, if they want to stop it, they reduce the dose gradually. But the problem with most Nigerians is that if they tell you to take it for 5 days and come back to the hospital for checkup, when it finishes, they might use that same prescription
And
and
go and get
another
it.
one.
Wow.
Or when they get it more than they need it, and they now keep themselves on that drug and they become dependent. Most antidepressants are dependent. So when you keep going, your body now gets used to it. So because they did not reduce the dose gradually till they stop it, you are now going through the same dose that you were taking before. You start abusing the drug, and before you know it, your body becomes addicted. And if you don't take it, you start acting
Affecting
like
you.
you're not normal and stuff. So there's a protocol to these things, but people never really keep to the protocol most of the time. And most times, we don't know how these people get these drugs. I'm telling you. There are sometimes they still get it. Nigeria, there are always ways that people get what they want. in
Anyways, yes, this is a conversation and it has been a very robust one. Finally, the word you give us for people out there dealing with situations of rape and
My mantra is always break the silence by speaking out. I feel that people die in silence, alone. They wallow in self-pity. They think they're alone in that problem when they don't speak about it. And so, you mentioned something. So let me just mention quickly, when you say that people don't want to speak out because maybe nobody will believe them, or because it's somebody close to them. But I tell people, see, it's a case of if I perish, I perish. Please speak up. You will find help. Some way, somehow, you'll find it to get to the right person or right sources who would help you. And in breaking that silence, though we do not have enough shelters in Nigeria, but I know we have shelters. So sometimes when you speak out and we feel that you're in a place of danger, you're taken to the shelter, or you're sure rescued from that place of abuse until you're able to get some sort of better help. So my advice is, please speak out. Look for an NGO. Look for even a radio station. To go to a police station. Ask for the gender desk. They have that gender department where you can report cases of rape, cases of abuse, and if you feel they don't believe you, there's always somebody there that would believe you.
okay, let's hear you. Just leave us with quick word.
Quick word. I would say get therapy. Therapy is very important. Talk to someone, get therapy. Just she has already talked about you speaking up, but you really need therapy. Talk to somebody about it, and remember that your scars make you beautiful because they are sealed with gold.
Yeah, I should have played you that song right now. But yes, it's a very good place to wrap up the show for today. Guys, see you again. Same time. That is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day for the Midday Extra Show, hanging out with Mata Mata. Thank you so much, Barrett Satoyi. Thank you so much, Pharmacist Yella. It's been an amazing time with you here in the studio. All right, guys, to the news trades, and then the sunny side, guys, will take you on a ride.
This is Eagles 102.3 News.